The doorbell rings. Someone wants to come in, have coffee, sit in your living room and talk. And inside you, something recoils. Not anger, not hatred of people, just a deep, almost physical resistance. A quiet voice saying, "Please, no, not now, not here." If you've felt this, if you've ever been called rude or antisocial for preferring your home empty and quiet, take a deep breath. Because what you're experiencing isn't a character flaw or social deficiency. Carl Jung spent decades studying people who had undergone deep psychological transformation. And he noticed something that surprises most people. The more awakened you become, the less you want visitors in your personal space. I'm about to share 5 truths Jung discovered about why awakened people can't bear having visitors. And if you've been feeling guilty for wanting to be alone in your own home, you may finally understand that this isn't about being antisocial. It's about protecting something sacred that most people don't even know exists. The first truth about why awakened people resist visitors might be the most important, because it reveals what your home actually represents at a psychological level. In Jungian psychology, the house is one of the most powerful symbols of the psyche. Jung called this the house as psyche, where each room symbolizes a different aspect of your inner world. The bedroom represents intimacy and vulnerability. The kitchen represents emotional nourishment. The basement represents your unconscious, everything buried beneath awareness. The front door is the boundary between your inner world and the outer world. When you've done deep psychological work, this symbolism becomes lived reality. Your home isn't just a metaphor for your psyche. It is your psyche made manifest. It's the physical expression of your internal state. Every object you've chosen, every space you've created reflects something about your inner state. The colors on your walls, the books on your shelves, the way you've arranged furniture, all of it mirrors your psychological landscape. When you're home alone, you're surrounded by your own energy, your own essence, your own soul made visible. Think of your home like a carefully tended garden. You've spent months, maybe years, cultivating this space with intention. You've planted seeds of what you want to grow in yourself, watered them with your attention and energy, pulled weeds of stress and chaos that try to invade, created an ecosystem that supports your specific needs for psychological growth. Every plant is positioned deliberately. The soil composition is exactly right. The balance of elements is perfect for your particular garden. You know which plants need more water, which need pruning, which are just beginning to sprout. Then someone walks into your garden. Their energy is different from yours. Their footsteps compress the soil you've carefully loosened. Their presence shifts the delicate balance you've established. They might admire your garden, but they don't understand the ecosystem you've created. They can't see the invisible work you've done. And you now have to stop tending your garden and become a tour guide. Your attention shifts from the sacred work of gardening to the performance of explaining your space. You feel it immediately when visitors arrive. The atmosphere changes. The quiet hum of your own energy is interrupted by foreign energy that doesn't match your frequency. Jung referred to this as psychic contamination, when another person's unconscious material enters your protected space. And you, who came home to finally be yourself, now have to perform again. Be the host, make conversation, offer refreshments, monitor how you're coming across, maintain the persona you thought you could drop. This isn't rudeness, it's protection. You're guarding something sacred, the one space where your soul can breathe freely. This is the first reason. Your home is your psychological sanctuary. And awakened people understand that protecting this space is protecting their capacity to remain whole in a fragmented world. But protecting sacred space is only the beginning. This second truth reveals something much more intense about what happens when visitors arrive. Awakened people are hypersensitive to the energy others bring. You don't just hear words, you feel everything the other person is carrying. And that sensitivity makes visitors overwhelmingly draining. Jung said, "The unconscious perceives what the conscious mind misses." When you've done deep inner work, you've developed what Jung called conscious receptivity, an ability to sense the unspoken, the unexpressed, the energetic field that surrounds others. You don't just hear what someone says, you feel what they're not saying. You sense their unresolved emotions. You pick up on their anxiety, their depression, their frustration, their fear, even when they're smiling and making pleasant conversation about the weather or weekend plans. This isn't mystical or supernatural. Jung described this as psychic sensitivity, the natural consequence of becoming conscious of your own inner states, which makes you attuned to others' inner states. It's psychological sensitivity that develops through shadow work and self-awareness. And this makes visitors exhausting in a way that's hard to explain to people who don't experience it. One woman Jung worked with described it perfectly. She'd done years of deep psychological work and had become profoundly attuned to her own inner world. When someone would visit her home, she'd experience it as an assault on her nervous system. She'd feel their stress before they mentioned being stressed. She'd sense their sadness underneath their cheerful facade. She'd pick up on unspoken tensions in their relationships, worries they hadn't voiced, fears they were suppressing, resentments they were carrying. And all of this, the emotional undercurrent, the unspoken tensions, the energetic weight they carried, would flood into her space like smoke filling a room. She wasn't just having a conversation about their weekend plans. She was processing all the psychological material they were unconsciously radiating. She told Jung, "When someone visits, it's like they're dumping invisible luggage all over my home. Heavy luggage they don't even know they're carrying. I can see the luggage, even though they can't. After they leave, I have to spend hours clearing their energy out of my space, processing what they left behind." Jung understood this completely. You've become conscious of the psychic field that surrounds people. Most people are blind to it. They only register the surface interaction, but you're experiencing the totality of their presence, their words, their energy, their unresolved psychological material. This is why visitors are so exhausting. You're not just hosting a person, you're hosting their entire unconscious. The woman asked if this sensitivity would ever decrease. Jung said honestly, no. Consciousness doesn't reverse. Once you become aware of these energetic dynamics, you can't become unaware. But you can learn to protect yourself by being very selective about who you allow into your space. She gradually stopped apologizing for not wanting visitors. She created strict boundaries around her home. People judged her as antisocial, but she understood. She was protecting her capacity to remain conscious in a world that constantly bombards sensitive people with unconscious material. This is the second reason. Awakened people feel everything visitors bring, spoken and unspoken, conscious and unconscious. And that sensitivity makes even well-meaning visits feel like an energetic invasion that takes days to recover from. Now, this third lesson changes everything because it exposes the deepest internal conflict that makes having visitors feel psychologically torturous. Before awakening, the persona felt natural. You put it on without thinking, like putting on shoes before leaving the house. It didn't feel like performance. It felt like just being yourself in social situations. But through your inner work, you've become conscious of the persona. You can feel it now when you're wearing it. You notice when you're adapting, filtering, performing. You're aware of the gap between your authentic self and your social self, and you've discovered something crucial. The persona is exhausting to maintain. Jung described this as the burden of adaptation, the constant psychological energy required to maintain your social mask. It requires continuous effort to monitor yourself, choose appropriate responses, manage how you're being perceived. Most of the time, you accept this as necessary. In public, at work, in social situations, fine. You put on the persona because that's how you navigate the social world. But your home was supposed to be different. Your home was supposed to be the one place where you could drop the mask completely, where you could be your full, unfiltered, authentic self. Think of the persona like formal clothing, a suit and tie, or an elegant dress. Out in the world, you wear these clothes. They're appropriate, necessary, but they're also restrictive. The collar is tight. The fabric doesn't breathe. You can't move completely freely. When you come home, the first thing you do is take off those formal clothes. You loosen the tie or unzip the dress. You kick off the uncomfortable shoes. You put on soft pants, a comfortable shirt. Your body finally relaxes. You can breathe fully, move naturally, just be without constraint. Your home is where you get to be psychologically naked, stripped of all the formal psychological clothing you have to wear in the world. No monitoring, no filtering, just existing as you actually are. But when someone visits, you have to put the formal clothes back on. You can't be psychologically naked in front of them. You have to monitor your words, control your expressions, maintain appropriate responses. The moment that doorbell rings, you feel the internal shift, the mask sliding back into place, the monitoring beginning again. Am I being welcoming enough? Do I seem interested? Am I talking too much or too little? And after hours of being psychologically dressed in the outside world, being forced to dress up again in your own home feels like a violation of the most profound kind. Jung called this the betrayal of the self, when you sacrifice your authentic nature for social acceptance. And when it happens in your own home, in the space that's supposed to protect your authenticity, it feels like the deepest betrayal of all. This is the third reason. Visitors force you to perform in the one space that's supposed to be performance-free. And for awakened people who've become conscious of how exhausting the persona is, that forced performance feels unbearable. If you're recognizing yourself in these truths, if your home has become sacred space, if you feel others' energy intensely, if the persona feels unbearable, please understand. You're not antisocial. You're not broken. You're protecting something that most people don't even know needs protection. Jung never called this a problem to fix. He called it a sign of psychological development. The more conscious you become, the more you need protected space for your inner world. Before we explore the final two reasons, check out our new guide, True Self-Discovery, with 24 practical reflection exercises designed to help you find your way within. Click below to get True Self-Discovery. Let's continue. Here's where it gets uncomfortable, because this fourth truth exposes what you're actually doing in solitude that society dismisses as nothing. Most people think being alone at home means doing nothing important. Watching TV, reading, relaxing. And sure, you might do those things, but for awakened people, something else is always happening, something most people aren't even aware of. Jung called it the work of individuation, the ongoing process of integrating your unconscious, processing your shadow, bringing your full self into consciousness. Jung described individuation as becoming who you truly are. And this work doesn't happen only in therapy or meditation. It's happening all the time, especially in solitude. When you're alone, your psyche is processing. Dreams are integrating into consciousness. Insights are forming from the depths. Emotions are being felt and metabolized rather than suppressed. Shadow material is rising to the surface to be examined. Jung called this active imagination, the conscious engagement with unconscious material that can only happen in protected solitude. This processing requires stillness, silence, space where your consciousness can turn inward without external interruption. Your home alone is where this essential psychological work happens. But when someone visits, all of this stops. Your attention has to shift outward immediately. The inward process gets interrupted. The psychological material that was rising to consciousness has to be suppressed again. One woman Jung worked with was a writer who'd done extensive shadow work. She described her alone time at home as her most productive psychological period, not for writing, but for inner processing. She'd sit quietly in her living room and things would surface. Memories she'd repressed, emotions she'd avoided, insights about patterns she hadn't seen before. Her psyche was showing her material that needed to be integrated. But when someone would visit, even for just an hour, that entire process would completely halt. She'd have to suppress the material that was emerging, redirect her attention outward, engage with the visitor's energy instead of her own inner world. She told Jung, "It's like I'm in the middle of important surgery on myself, carefully opening up psychological wounds, examining them, cleaning them. Then someone knocks. I have to close everything up quickly and pretend I wasn't in the middle of something crucial. Sometimes the material doesn't come back for weeks." Jung understood. The work of individuation requires uninterrupted solitude. Your psyche needs space to bring unconscious material into consciousness. Jung referred to this as the confrontation with the unconscious. And it cannot happen when your attention is directed outward. It's not that you dislike people, it's that their presence stops the essential work your soul is trying to do. The woman gradually learned to guard her solitude fiercely. She stopped making excuses. When people wanted to visit, she simply said no. And in that protected space, her inner work deepened. This is the fourth reason. Awakened people are always engaged in inner psychological work, and visitors interrupt that work at the exact moments it's trying to happen. You're not being antisocial. You're protecting the process through which you become whole. And now, this final truth might be the most liberating of all, because it reveals that your resistance isn't weakness or fear. It's hard-won wisdom. Through the awakening process, you become acutely aware of your energy as a finite resource. Before awakening, you gave your energy away freely, saying yes to everyone, accommodating others' needs, making yourself available because that's what good people do. But through your inner work, you discovered something crucial. Your energy is limited. Jung called this psychic energy, or libido, the fundamental life force that powers your consciousness. And how you spend it determines the quality of your consciousness, your capacity for inner work, your ability to stay centered in yourself. You learned that some interactions nourish your energy, leave you feeling fuller. Others deplete it, drain your resources, leave you empty. And having visitors, even nice people you care about, depletes your energy in a way that takes days to recover from. So, you had to make a choice. Keep saying yes to visitors to maintain the appearance of being normal, or start saying no to protect the energy that allows you to remain awakened. Think of your energy like a bank account with a specific balance. Every interaction, every outing, every visitor is a withdrawal from that account. Some withdrawals are worth it. They bring value, genuine connection, meaningful exchange. But many withdrawals bring nothing valuable and deplete your account significantly. Before awakening, you didn't track your account. You'd let anyone make withdrawals, then wonder why you felt constantly drained, unable to access your own inner resources. Now you become conscious of your energy economy. You see clearly which interactions are worth the withdrawal and which aren't. And visitors you've discovered are expensive withdrawals that rarely justify their cost. They cost you the energy of putting on your persona and maintaining it. The hours of recovery afterward as you clear their energy from your space, the disruption to your inner work, the clearing of foreign psychic material, the re-establishment of your own energetic field. And what do you gain? Usually surface conversation about nothing important, pleasant but ultimately hollow interaction, the performance of social normalcy. The equation doesn't balance, so you've stopped pretending it does. Jung described this as the economy of the soul, learning to invest your psychic energy where it actually serves your development, rather than where society demands you spend it. After a visitor leaves, you can feel the depletion immediately. Your energy is scattered, your home feels contaminated, your nervous system is overstimulated, and it takes hours, sometimes days, to restore your equilibrium, for pleasant chat about nothing important, for maintaining the appearance of being normal. The math doesn't work. This is the fifth reason. Awakened people have become conscious of energy as a finite resource, and they've learned that visitors cost more energy than they're usually worth. This isn't antisocial. It's wise energy management in service of maintaining consciousness. If you've been recognizing yourself in these 5 truths, please hear this clearly. Your resistance to visitors isn't a character flaw. It's a sign of psychological maturity. You don't like visitors because your home is your psychological sanctuary, and visitors disrupt sacred space. You're hypersensitive to energy, and visitors bring psychic weight you have to process. The persona is unbearable, and visitors force performance in your one performance-free zone. You're engaged in inner work, and visitors interrupt essential psychological processes. You've learned what costs too much, and visitors deplete energy you need for consciousness. These aren't signs of social dysfunction. Jung called this the differentiation of consciousness, becoming aware of your unique psychological requirements rather than conforming to collective expectations. You've learned that your home is more than a physical space. It's the temple where your soul reorganizes itself. Jung never said awakened people should force themselves to be more social, more accommodating, more available. He said, honor what your psyche needs, and if it needs solitude, silence, and protected space, give it that without guilt. If you're an awakened person who doesn't like visitors, I want you to hear this. You don't owe anyone access to your sanctuary. Your home is allowed to be your sacred space, protected and preserved for your own psychological work. Society might judge you. People might call you antisocial, cold, or difficult. They might say you've changed, that you're not fun anymore. But those judgments come from people who don't understand what you're protecting. Your home isn't just where you live. It's where your soul breathes. It's where you process your shadow, integrate your unconscious, and do the essential work of becoming whole. Visitors interrupt that work. They bring foreign energy into your carefully maintained space. They force you to perform when you need to be authentic. They deplete energy you need to remain conscious. So, when you feel that resistance, that quiet voice saying, "Please, no visitors," listen to it. It's not your antisocial tendency. It's not rudeness. It's your soul protecting itself. Honor your need for protected space. Decline visits without guilt or elaborate explanations. Create boundaries without apology. Your home is your temple. And temples aren't open to everyone, all the time, just to seem accommodating. You're not broken for wanting to be alone in your own space. You're awakened, and awakening requires solitude that most people will never understand. That's okay. They don't have to understand. You just have to honor what your soul needs. If this explained why you don't like visitors, subscribe for Jungian psychology that honors your need for sacred solitude. Click the recommended video now for more insights. Remember, your home is your sanctuary. Protecting it isn't antisocial. It's essential for staying awakened in a world that constantly demands your energy.